Hey everyone, and welcome back to the show. Today's episode, we'll be talking about taking responsibility and how we can unlock growth through accountability. Today's episode, we'll be exploring why taking responsibility is important, common pitfalls that young men often face, and practical steps on how you can take responsibility. I'm Harrison, and this is the Growth Voyage podcast. Enjoy. Okay, first of all, we'll be discussing why responsibility matters. I think it'd be helpful, first of all, I think just to acknowledge that, yes, I think as young men, we do often face pressures around expectations, success, our life choices, that type of thing. But taking responsibility can be super powerful, especially for personal development. And when I talk about responsibility, it's not just owning up to mistakes, but also recognizing our ability to control all of our actions and their outcomes. It's about understanding that it's only you who is the architect of your own life. It's about making choices and just being accountable for them. And yeah, I think taking responsibility, it does sort of empower you to shape your own narrative rather than just passively blaming external factors or other people. I think if we simply blame other people or other events for what's happened to us, then that's giving them the power. So it's like, how can you evolve and how can you make a difference if it's someone else who's in charge, right? It's only you who is in charge of your life, and it's only you who can do something about it. Okay. If we blame other people or whatever the event may be, then they will have the power to change it. And guess what? They're not going to change it. It's only up to us to do that. So that's super important. We have to be in charge of our own life. And yeah, I think responsibility just helps in sort of achieving personal goals, and it will also help you sort of improve your character. It would certainly improve your relationships and overall well-being as well. I think next we should discuss, the sort of common pitfalls or challenges that young men face, especially in this area. I think the biggest one is just avoiding responsibility, right? How easy is it to just play the blame game? I think we all have a tendency to avoid responsibility, especially when things don't go as planned, right? This can involve sort of just making excuses, like I said, blaming external circumstances, or, yeah, I think just not really looking intrinsically, right? And because we do have this sort of pressure to have everything figured out, when we do fail, I think it's easier to blame elsewhere rather than just face the uncomfortable truth that we did have a part to play in that, right? I think about sort of a failed relationship, right? It's easy to go, oh, this failed because my partner cheated on me, or every time I sort of said something, they shut me down and blah 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 blah. See, the trouble here is that you're blaming everything on them. And yes, they might have done a certain thing, or they might have cheated on you, or they might have done whatever. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it was still your actions that allowed that to happen. And I think it's an uncomfortable truth. And yeah, there might be a bit of resistance to that idea, right? But okay, you look back, they might have done this terrible thing. Why did they do that? Okay, maybe. And then you always got to look at yourself. Okay, so it might be, all right, maybe I was blinded by love. I didn't see all the red flags, right? That's perhaps your fault as well. Perhaps you didn't communicate your needs enough, right? Maybe you were just being a people pleaser. You didn't want to upset them, but then as a result, your needs were pushed to the side, and that caused the relationship to go sour, right? Yeah, I think we can always just be honest with ourselves. That's certainly something I've learned from a couple previous relationships where, I just didn't really I think it was just so easy to sort of blame the other person. But then it's over time and reflecting on it, it's like, okay, this is why this has happened. At the time, I didn't communicate my needs enough, and I sort of paid the price for that. And it's only by taking responsibility that I can now improve myself. And that's the beautiful part of it, is that we can grow from that, we can learn from that experience, meaning that when we do eventually come across someone who's right for us, then we've learned from our lessons in the past. And that's super, super important, right? I think there's also this another big pitfall is this fear of failure. I think, this fear can lead to this avoidance of responsibility, right? We fear failure so much that it can lead to avoidance of responsibility. The reality is, I think I've said this on the podcast numerous times before with guests and perhaps solo as well. We have to reframe failure. We have to reframe failure, and I don't even think failure is the right word. I think failure is something that we should seek rather than avoid, because that's how we grow and we learn from our mistakes. And it's only by going through that journey we can grow as a person, right? I always speak to people who've gone through troubles in life or setbacks, and beforehand they always say, if I'd seen what I would have gone through, I would have said, no, I don't want to go through that. But no one, I challenge you as well, ask people who've been through something really tough. None of them will regret going through it because it shaped who they are today, right? I think that's really important. Reframing failure. I say failure in inverted commas or whatever, but reframing it. And failure is often the best teacher. I've mentioned with the relationship example, with businesses as well, right? I had a gym equipment business during lockdown. We enjoyed quite a lot of success at the start. And then, long story short, is we could have stopped the business when we were doing well and called it quits and made a nice profit. But then we ended up continuing the business for too long. And we ended up losing quite a fair bit of money, right? I think it's very easy to dwell on that and think, okay, wow, it was the market's fault, or okay, right, we had an awful courier who was damaging all our equipment and we were owed this much in compensation and never gave it to us. But then it's like, actually, if I reframe that experience and think, okay, what did I learn? Okay, maybe not go for the cheapest courier, or maybe go for a different option next time, or okay, what else did I learn? For our fifth order, I think we took too long to decide. So what does that mean for the future? Make decisions quicker. And now it's like, when I have a business that resonates more deeply with me, I can then make that decision to go, okay, cool. I've learned from this in the past and I can take this action instead. So I think that's really, really important as well. And I think it's also good to briefly touch on societal expectations as well. And there will be a conflict there between sort of doing what is expected of us and taking responsibility for our own path. The world tells us we need to succeed early, but I think success comes from learning, failing, and taking responsibility and accountability along the way. And I think the idea that you can't be seen failing, that is 100% an illusion. If that is in your mind, you need to shake that out right now. I think that holds us back, right? It might have been the way we were brought up. I think school perhaps has a hand in that as well. It's so, so important, right? Do not be afraid of failure. And if you do fail, then fantastic. See it as a learning experience. But this idea that we can't fail or can't get it all right at once, it is bullshit. So do get that out of your mind. That is really crucial for your growth and for all of our growth, right? We need to rewire our thinking around the topic. And I think that way, I think just question the media we've consumed, or, what we've been told as kids, right? Break that illusion and question everything you've been told. I think that's super important. I think finally, practical steps you can take to take more responsibility in your life. We've talked about sort of reframing failure and that type of thing. I think it's important to take time to reflect on your actions regularly. This could be through journaling or simply sitting down for a moment of introspection. I know it's super tempting to just get on with the life, wake up and do the thing, and yeah, keep on striving towards our goals. But just take that time, see what comes up in your head, and yeah, deal with it and reflect on everything. And if you do find yourself sort of blaming someone else, take a step back and think, right, okay, I statement. What could I have done better to avoid this situation? And that's super important, right? Just having that self awareness. Think about your actions. Okay, yeah, I don't care what happens. Maybe some guy picked on you in the pub and he was extremely rude to you. Maybe I don't know, your partner or your friend hurt you, something like that. Could you work on your boundaries, perhaps? Why did they feel the need they could do that? And then you start researching more and more about these topics, right? Okay, how to insert boundaries? How can I do this? All of that is super, super beneficial. And this is the beauty of self development, right? We notice our patterns and then we can do something to combat them. So, yeah, that's really important, having that self awareness and reflection, right? And own your choice as well. I think, yeah, you need to accept ownership of both sort of positive and negative outcomes. When things go right, own that as well. That's super important. It's not just about accepting the bad parts, but also acknowledging your wins. When we have a tendency as men to keep on striving for success, that when we eventually achieve the goal, it's like, okay, cool, what's the next thing? Take your time, take responsibility for your wins as well, right? Everything balances out, or at least we try to balance it out, right? So yeah, that's also an important thing to remember as well. Own everything. Everything you do is on you, and it's only through owning that we can evolve and change. I know, in my instance, I had a habit of saying I was going to do something and not actually doing something about it. So yeah, one example was, I remember I had to give a lift to someone at a certain point, but I was working and it got to the point where if I had followed through with that lift, then I would have had to miss my, like I say PT session, but yeah, strongman session at the gym, right? And it was a case of going, right, okay, um, I could have easily said, right, sorry, can you get a lift here instead? I need to do it. But then it's like, no, if I've told someone I'm going to do something, I need to do it. And yeah, I ended up being a bit late. So what? I think being a man of your word is truly important. And yeah, owning what you've said and taking responsibility is how we can grow as people. I also think just setting clear intentions as well. So, I think setting intentional goals and holding yourself accountable can provide clarity and focus in life. So, start with some smaller goals and build up. If you haven't done a goal or done it, no need to be hard on yourself. Just be honest. Be like, okay, why didn't this happen? And when we take the emotions out of it, and instead of thinking, oh, I didn't do this because I'm a lazy piece of shit, like, no, okay, why didn't you get this done when you said it'd be done? Okay, it's because I was procrastinating. Okay, what can I do to deal with procrastination? And then you look deeper into that topic, right? There's a reason for everything and they can never be ignored. So, yeah, I think that's super important. Set specific goals, stick to them. And if you're not sticking to them, ask yourself, why? Am I doing too much? Have I got trouble with focus? That type of thing. And yeah, just stay tuned with that. I think that's pretty important. Also, seeking feedback and growing from mistakes. I would encourage you to ask for constructive feedback from peers, mentors, even family members as well. In my episode with Aaron Timms, we discuss all about mentorship, how to find a mentor, what does a mentor mean, and how life-changing they can be. So yeah, look for constructive feedback. I would also say be careful about who you ask advice for. And again, I discussed that with Aaron. He's a very knowledgeable chap. I recommend you check out that episode as well. And yeah, I think taking responsibility isn't about being perfect. It's about being open to learning from our mistakes and using those lessons to become better. Ask people for their honest opinion. Don't take things personally. That's also very, very important, right? If we're resistant to feedback, how can we improve? Even on this podcast, I ask people for raw feedback, right? And, if they've said, oh, okay, I think you could have gone deeper on this or that, right? You have to be open to that, okay? If your ego's getting in the way and you're thinking, oh, well, you can't take that personally. It's like, that's amazing. You've got to always seek how you can improve. And it's not about you, and don't let your ego cloud your judgment, right? Let people tell you exactly how it is. I appreciate it's not always easy, but over time, I promise it will get easier. And yeah, I actually heard another one for self-improvement. It's a bit brutal, but if you've got a best friend you can really, really trust, ask them and tell them, hey, what is it about me you think I could improve upon? Or what are some things you don't like about me? Or what have you noticed about me? It's brutal, but if you're ready to do the work, that can really help you. If you really trust someone to tell you how it is, again, I'd be careful with this. I think a lot of people can reflect their own insecurities. So yeah, maybe take that with a pinch of salt. Just an idea though. Always be looking to improve, but be careful of who is giving you that advice, right? I always find that those who have already gone on the journey you have, those are probably the best people to ask, right? In terms of business and perhaps even personal development as well. But yeah, like I said, it isn't just about thinking about everything. It's about taking action, right? So it's taking responsibility, being aware of it. What am I going to do in the future to make sure that this doesn't happen again, or that I can tackle this differently? It's not just enough to recognize where we've gone wrong, but about taking concrete steps towards that improvement. We need to act, we need to take steps to make things right and grow from the experience. Ask yourself how you will learn from your experience and what you'll do going forward. We look forward and grow by being thankful for the lesson and taking active steps to do something different. Hopefully that's useful. Do let me know if this has resonated with you. I'm always available for a chat. You can send me a DM on Instagram. As always, we are at the Growth Voyage podcast. Just a brief summary, I suppose. Taking responsibility, it's about growth, self-awareness, and accepting that you have the power to change the course of your life, because you can. I would just encourage you to take small, actionable steps in taking responsibility for your actions today. Perhaps reflect on one area of your life where you've been avoiding responsibility. What's one thing you can do today to take ownership of that area? And yeah, personal growth is a journey. It is a growth voyage. And I think it's important to realize, right, okay, sometimes we are going to make mistakes. It's not always going to be perfect. We are in this for the longer term, right? So yeah, get that balance in. Don't be too harsh on yourself, but at the same time, take that responsibility, be better. Don't take setbacks personally. See them as a growth opportunity, because they are. All these events make up who we are today. And yeah, that's all for today. Keep going. Well done for listening this far. I think that shows a big intent to want to improve yourself. So that's awesome. Do please let me know what are your thoughts. I appreciate you tuning in. And yeah, feel free to share it with someone if you think someone else could find this episode beneficial. Also, if you enjoyed this, please leave a review on our Spotify page or subscribe on YouTube. It really does help the show grow. And in the meantime, keep taking responsibility and making strides towards the person you want to become. Take it easy, and I'll see you very soon.